Your world is about to turn upside down and you don't even realize it. The global reset is no longer a theory. It's happening now, right before your eyes. As you watch this video, irreversible decisions are being made behind the scenes of world power. Trump's tariffs are just the visible tip of an apocalyptic iceberg that will forever change the destiny of humanity. Open your eyes. Do you really believe these trade wars are just about economics? The global elite is using Trump and his 2025 tariffs as key players to implement the system prophesied in the Book of Revelation. The mark of the beast is being constructed through economic decrees that appear normal. But make no mistake, look around you. Notice the patterns. Cryptocurrencies collapsing, inflation soaring, digital control advancing. It's all part of a meticulously orchestrated plan to force you to accept the new global system. This video is being systematically censored from platforms. Why? Because I'm exposing connections they don't want you to know about. This information is so sensitive that I don't know how long I will be able to keep this content available. Holy Scriptures predicted this moment with frightening accuracy. Revelation 13:16-17 describes exactly the system being implemented. No one may buy or sell except he who has the mark. And today, for the first time in history, we have the technology to implement this globally. Are you feeling the financial pressure mounting? This is no coincidence. It is a deliberate strategy to despair you to the point where you will accept any solution that promises stability. By the time they offer the solution, it will be too late to refuse. Leaked documents I obtained show that Trump's tariffs are deliberately creating the economic chaos necessary to justify the implementation of a unified, totalitarian financial system. What looks like American protectionism is actually preparing the ground for the Antichrist. Important: 93% of central banks are already developing digital currencies that will allow complete monitoring and control over every penny you spend. Connect the dots. Tariffs create instability. Instability demands a solution. The solution is total control. Economic analysts are panicked about what's coming, but are prohibited from making the spiritual connection. Why? Because the moment you understand the prophetic dimension of this reset, you will clearly see the Antichrist's plan unfolding. Israel and the Third Temple are directly connected to these economic maneuvers. Trump's tariffs are secretly funding projects in Jerusalem that accelerate prophetic fulfillment. Today's geopolitics is not about politics. It's about prophecies being fulfilled. Thousands are already waking up to this truth, but billions continue to sleep. Will you be one of those who noticed in time, or will you be dragged into the new system without even understanding what happened? The mainstream media is deliberately hiding the connections between current economic events and biblical prophecies. I have just received exclusive information from inside sources that confirm there is a direct order to suppress any discussion relating Trump's tariffs to the Antichrist system. The device you are using to watch this video will soon become your digital jailer, controlling your access to food, transportation, and essential services. Tariffs are causing a crisis that will justify this absolute control. Pay close attention to what I'm going to reveal in the next few minutes. This information will completely change your view of the current moment and may be your only chance to prepare properly. What many don't realize is that Trump, even presenting himself as an opponent of the New World Order, is inadvertently paving the perfect path for the emergence of the Antichrist. Their tariffs are creating exactly the economic scenario needed to implement the global control prophesied millennia ago. What I am about to reveal about Trump's tariffs and the Antichrist system has never been shared on any other channel. Many who attempted to expose these truths were silenced and their content permanently removed. The upcoming revelations about the global reset and prophetic tariffs will be even more impactful. Leave your like now and subscribe to the channel to guarantee access to this exclusive content before it's too late. Your world is being transformed before your eyes right now. While you are here, great powers are implementing irreversible changes that will directly affect your future, your family, and everything you have built to date. This is no longer a theory or speculation. Global reset has officially been activated. Thousands of people are already noticing the signs around them, but the vast majority remain in a state of induced torpor, unable to connect the dots. Have you ever noticed how prices are increasing exponentially? How does your money buy less and less? How are freedoms being restricted? One by one, This is neither a coincidence nor a natural consequence of the economy. The scary thing is that the global reset did not start as many expected. There was no major nuclear war. There was no sudden financial collapse that brought the world to a standstill. Instead, it began quietly, through administrative decrees, trade tariffs, and international agreements that, at first glance, appear completely harmless to the average citizen. We are witnessing a global transformation that was meticulously planned decades ago. Every economic movement, every new legislation, every technological change is part of a larger plan, and at the heart of this plan are the recent tariffs implemented by Trump in 2025, which are far more significant than any mainstream analyst is willing to admit. This information is being systematically removed from all major platforms. Several channels that dared to talk about this issue were completely demonetized or deleted without prior notice. I don't know how long this content will remain available, so pay close attention to every word I'll share over the next few minutes. What we are seeing is the literal fulfillment of prophecies that were written thousands of years ago. The book of Revelation describes with frightening accuracy the events we are now witnessing. The implementation of a unified global system that will control every aspect of human life is being built piece by piece, and very few people can see the whole picture. When the prophets wrote about a system where no one could buy or sell without a specific brand, it seemed impossible. Today, with current technology, it is not only possible, but is being actively implemented through new central bank digital currencies. Trump's tariffs are the perfect catalyst to accelerate this transition. Pay close attention to what I'm going to show you now, because this will completely change your view of the moment we are living in. This revelation is so powerful that many who watched this video reported that they could no longer see the world in the same way. The curtain is being lifted, and what lies behind is simultaneously shocking and clarifying. The world events you see on the news every day seem disjointed and chaotic, but when you understand the bigger plan, everything fits together perfectly like a prophetic puzzle. Each piece has its exact place, and the final picture reveals the Antichrist system emerging before our eyes. What you are feeling right now, this feeling that something deeply wrong is happening in the world, is not paranoia. It is your spirit discerning the truth they are trying to hide from you. Feel this revelation in the depths of your being and share this awakening by typing "awaken" in the comments now. What the mainstream media is calling simply economic protectionism actually represents the first visible piece of an apocalyptic puzzle being assembled before our eyes. The tariffs implemented by Trump in 2025 are not just economic measures to protect the American market. They are the prophetic trigger that will activate a cascade of global events that will culminate in the emergence of the Antichrist system. I will now reveal a connection that no political or economic analyst has dared to make publicly. When you carefully examine the specific percentages of these tariffs and the industries they affect, a pattern emerges that aligns perfectly with the descriptions of the beast's economic system mentioned in the Book of Revelation. This is no coincidence. Please look closely at these official documents and public statements. When we overlay this information with biblical prophecy, a terrifying pattern emerges. Tariffs are strategically positioned to destabilize the very economic sectors that need to be reconfigured to implement the new global system of financial control. The logical sequence is irrefutable. First comes global economic destabilization through trade tariffs, followed by the inevitable reorganization of world trade, which creates the urgent need for a new economic system, preparing the perfect ground for the emergence of the savior figure who will implement the system prophesied in Revelation. What few realize is that these tariffs were meticulously calculated to create as much disruption as possible without causing an immediate total collapse. It is a controlled collapse, designed to push the world towards a predetermined solution. The exact magnitude of these tariffs was not chosen at random. Each percentage, each affected sector, has a specific purpose in the greater plan. When Trump announced these measures, many economists made immediate catastrophic predictions. However, the true purpose of these tariffs is to create gradual and sustained instability that will justify radical changes to the global financial system. Changes that, under normal circumstances, would be rejected by the population, but which in times of crisis will be accepted as necessary. The main beneficiaries of these tariffs are not American workers, as is publicly proclaimed. They are those who are strategically positioned to implement the new global system when the crisis reaches its peak. These tariffs are effectively transferring wealth and power into the hands of those who will control the mark of the beast system. The scriptures speak of a system where no one will be able to buy or sell without the mark. We are witnessing the creation of the perfect conditions for people to willingly accept this system, seeing it as the only solution to the economic instability caused by these global tariffs. Trump may not be aware of how his policies align with apocalyptic prophecies. He may genuinely believe he is acting in his country's best interests. However, far more powerful forces are operating behind the scenes, using these tariffs as tools to advance a prophetic agenda that was written millennia ago. This revelation is so impactful that I need you to process this deeply. The future of your financial and spiritual freedom depends on your ability to see beyond the official narrative. What you are witnessing in real time is the literal fulfillment of biblical prophecies about the last days. What is your opinion on this connection between tariffs and prophecies? Share your thoughts in the comments now. What looks like global economic chaos is, in fact, a meticulously orchestrated crisis. Look beyond the surface and you will notice that this instability follows a specific pattern. Wild market fluctuations, runaway inflation, disruptions to global supply chains are not random accidents. They are carefully designed components of a larger plan. Your money, your savings, your way of life are being deliberately destabilized for a very specific reason. When you don't know if you'll be able to pay your bills next month, when the value of your pension drops drastically, when the price of food doubles overnight, you become more susceptible to accepting solutions that you would normally reject. Throughout human history, every major system change has always been preceded by a crisis that supposedly required radical solutions. This is the classic problem-reaction solution strategy. First, the problem is created. Afterwards, the public reaction of fear and despair is expected. Finally, the solution that was planned from the beginning is presented. The book of Revelation describes precisely how the economic crisis will be used to implement the beast's system. In chapter 13, we clearly see that total economic control is the Antichrist's main tool. No one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark. This verse is not just symbolic, it is a literal description of the system being built now. The urgency of this situation cannot be overstated. We are not talking about a distant future or a theoretical possibility. Economic and geopolitical indicators show that we are months, not years, away from seeing this system fully emerge. Controlled chaos is accelerating, preparing the perfect ground for the global implementation of the Antichrist system. Notice how the crises seem to come in perfect sequence. We have barely overcome one global emergency when another appears on the horizon. This cadence is not natural. It is an artificially created perfect storm to keep populations in a constant state of fear and uncertainty, making them more malleable and willing to accept new forms of control. The Antichrist system requires a population desperate for stability at any cost. When people can no longer predict their economic future, when uncertainty becomes unbearable, they will willingly give up their freedoms in exchange for promises of security and stability. The scriptures repeatedly warn against being deceived in the last days. The great disappointment will not come through obvious threats, but through apparently beneficial solutions to real and urgent problems. The Antichrist system will not be imposed by force. It will be willingly accepted by people desperate for relief from the controlled chaos we are witnessing. Mainstream economists who try to explain these crises as natural phenomena or unpredictable consequences of global policies are either deeply mistaken or deliberately misleading. The math behind this chaos is too precise, the synchronization too perfect to be accidental. The truth that few dare admit is that the global financial system is being deliberately destabilized to create the perfect conditions for the implementation of the system prophesied in Revelation. Every crisis, every collapse, every new emergency brings us one step closer to the moment when the mark of the beast will be presented as the only viable solution. This revelation is so powerful that I need you to respond by sharing the word vigilant in the comments now. Imagine a world where every penny you spend, every place you visit, and every opinion you express is monitored, scored, and controlled in real time. This is not the plot of a dystopian science fiction film. It's the world being built around us right now, camouflaged under the cloak of technological progress and digital convenience. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, are already being developed and tested in more than 100 countries around the world. This is not speculation or theory. It is a documented fact that you can verify on the official websites of the central banks themselves. The technological infrastructure required to implement a fully digital, centrally controlled monetary system is nearly complete. The device you're using to watch this video right now, whether it's a smartphone, tablet, or computer, will soon turn into the tool that controls your access to absolutely everything you need to survive. Food, transportation, housing, medicines, essential services will all be linked to your digital identity and your compliance with the system. Revelation 13:16-17 describes it with astonishing precision. And he causes everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to have a mark placed on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one can buy or sell except he who has the mark. For the first time in human history, we have exactly the technology needed to implement this prophesied system globally. What is being sold to the public as simple digital convenience is in reality the most comprehensive and powerful control system ever created. Every digital transaction leaves a permanent trace. Each purchase reveals your habits and preferences. Your every move can be tracked, analyzed, and used to predict your future behavior. Government digital currencies will completely eliminate any remaining financial privacy. Every penny you receive or spend will be visible to authorities in real time. Most alarmingly, your access to your own money could be limited or completely blocked with a simple click if you are found to be non-compliant with any government policy. Proponents of this system argue that it will bring greater security and efficiency, eliminating fraud and tax evasion, but the price of this supposed security is total freedom. A system where everything you do is monitored and where your access to essential resources can be restricted instantly is nothing short of digital slavery. Note carefully how recent financial crises have dramatically accelerated the implementation of these technologies. Each new emergency serves as a justification to more quickly abandon physical cash and adopt digital payment systems. Each new security problem serves as a pretext to implement more invasive identification systems. Most disturbingly, billions of people are willingly embracing these systems, seduced by the promise of convenience and instant rewards. Loyalty programs, cashback, payment facilities are all psychological baits designed to condition the masses to accept what will eventually become the brand's system. The integration of social credit systems, similar to those already implemented in some nations with central bank digital currencies, will create an unprecedented behavioral control mechanism. Your access to basic resources will depend on your compliance with whatever narrative or behavior is deemed acceptable by authorities. This totalitarian digital system is being built in plain sight, piece by piece, under the guise of financial modernization and public safety. When all the pieces are finally connected, it will be too late to resist. What you are witnessing is the technical infrastructure of the Antichrist system being built before your eyes. Did this move you deeply? What aspect of this total digitalization worries you most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Trump publicly presents himself as the great enemy of the global elite, as the defender of the people against the dark powers that control the world behind the scenes. Millions of people see him as a liberator, a disruptor of the corrupt system. However, when we carefully analyze his economic policies, especially the 2025 tariffs, a very different reality emerges. If Trump truly is fighting the global system, why are his economic actions precisely creating the perfect environment for the Antichrist to take control? This is the question that very few have the courage to ask, but which reveals the true nature of the game being played on the world stage. After meticulously analyzing hundreds of official documents, speeches, and implemented policies, I have come to an alarming conclusion. There are far more powerful forces operating behind the scenes that are using world leaders as mere pieces on a cosmic chessboard. Trump, like other global leaders, is just one actor in a much larger drama that was written millennia ago. Secret meetings between top world leaders and organizations such as the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and World Economic Forum reveal a disturbing alignment with biblical prophecies about the latter-day global economic system. These are not just coincidences. These are coordinated plans being executed with frightening precision. The big question you urgently need to consider is, who really benefits from this global economic chaos? Not American workers. They are not ordinary citizens in any country. The only true beneficiaries are those strategically positioned to offer solutions when the current system inevitably collapses under the weight of tariffs and trade restrictions. The historical pattern is clear. Every major social and economic transformation follows the same script. First, the problem is created, then the predetermined solution is offered. Trump's tariffs are no exception. They were calculated precisely to destabilize the global economy, enough to justify the implementation of a new centralized digital financial system. The illusion of political choice is perhaps the most sophisticated form of control ever invented. While the masses believe they are choosing between different visions for the future, the real architects continually work behind the scenes, using each administration, regardless of its apparent political orientation, to advance the same ultimate agenda. It is crucial to understand that the Antichrist system will not suddenly appear, announcing its true intentions. It will come in the guise of salvation, presented as the only viable solution to problems that have been deliberately created for this specific purpose, and its main promoters will be those who publicly present themselves as opponents of the system. The scriptures warn us to be wise as serpents and simple as doves. At no time is this warning more relevant than now. We must look beyond appearances, beyond political rhetoric, and discern the true fruits of the economic policies being implemented. Trump may genuinely believe he is doing what is best for his country. He may not be aware of how perfectly his policies fit into the prophetic plan. However, this does not change the reality of what is happening. The 2025 tariffs are the prophetic catalyst that will accelerate the implementation of the global system described in Revelation. This truth is so impactful and eye-opening that I feel I need you to share your insight. Type "awakened" in the comments if this revelation opened your eyes to a reality you had never considered before. Alliances between the United States and Israel go far beyond simple diplomatic agreements or strategic military partnerships. They represent the precise fulfillment of the prophetic scenario necessary for the final events described in the scriptures. When we analyze historical patterns and compare them with current events, an alarming picture begins to form before our watchful eyes. Recent economic agreements between the US and Israel, especially those related to new trade tariffs, have a spiritual dimension that few can discern. These are not simply commercial transactions. These are the fundamental blocks for the construction of the apocalyptic scenario that was prophesied millennia ago in sacred scriptures. Every clause in these agreements, every percentage in tariffs, every economic sector affected aligns perfectly with the prophetic descriptions. Look closely at these recent images of preparations for the Third Temple in Jerusalem. Sacred utensils were forged to exact biblical specifications. Levitical priests were meticulously trained in ancient rituals. Perfect animals were selected and raised for sacrifice. The prophecy is literally materializing before our eyes, and very few people understand the magnitude of what we are witnessing at this unprecedented moment in history. What the mainstream media flatly refuses to report is how Trump's tariffs are directly influencing the financing of these projects in Israel. Through complex financial mechanisms and specific exemptions built into new trade policies, billions of dollars are being quietly channeled to accelerate the construction of the Third Temple, the center stage for the manifestation of the Antichrist as prophesied. The numbers are impressive when you carefully analyze the financial flows between the two nations. Throughout biblical history, we observe a consistent and undeniable pattern. Whenever great empires and world powers intervened in Israel's affairs, significant prophetic events followed. From ancient Egypt to the Roman Empire, through Babylon and Persia, each external interference in Israel triggered the fulfillment of specific prophecies. We are witnessing exactly the same pattern repeating itself now, but on a global scale never before seen in human history. This isn't just distant geopolitics happening on the other side of the world with no impact on your life. It is the meticulous setting of the stage for events that will directly affect your existence, your family, your faith, and your eternity. The decisions you make today, based on your understanding of these prophetic connections, will determine your spiritual destiny in the turbulent days that are quickly approaching. The time to wake up and prepare is running out quickly. The scriptures warn us to watch the signs of the times, especially those relating to Israel. When the fig tree buds, we know summer is near. Israel is often symbolized as the fig tree in Scripture, and its current budding through developments in the Third Temple clearly indicates that we are in the final hours before the return of the Messiah. This is not a speculative interpretation, but a direct application of Jesus' prophetic words. The United States plays a crucial role in this prophetic drama as the current global superpower that protects and finances Israel. Trump's economic policies, especially the 2025 tariffs, are inadvertently accelerating the apocalyptic timeline by creating the perfect conditions for the rise of the Antichrist's global system, while simultaneously empowering Israel for its prophetic role in the last days. It's a fascinating and terrifying duality at the same time. The spiritual connection between trade tariffs and the Third Temple may seem tenuous to those who only look at the surface of everyday events, but when you carefully examine the details of the agreements, the specific values involved, and the economic sectors impacted, a pattern emerges that aligns perfectly with the prophetic descriptions in the book of Daniel and Revelation. The accuracy is simply astounding for anyone willing to delve beyond the superficial headlines. It is important to understand that many leaders involved in these agreements may not be aware of the prophetic dimensions of their immediate actions. They are simply pursuing political and economic goals that seem beneficial to their nations. However, a greater force is orchestrating these events to fulfill precisely what was written in the sacred scriptures. Like Pharaoh in ancient Egypt, these world leaders are inadvertently fulfilling a divine purpose that completely transcends their immediate political agendas. The events we are witnessing in Israel right now, especially regarding the Third Temple and its connection to global economic policies, are so prophetically significant that they literally make my heart race every time I analyze the new evidence. We are living in extraordinary times that ancient prophets only dreamed of seeing. The final preparation is taking place before our eyes, and the signs are so clear that only those who deliberately choose not to see can ignore them. This truth is so powerful and transformative that I need you to share your personal understanding. What do you believe about the connection between current events in Israel, American economic policies, and end times prophecies? Leave your perspective in the comments now. While world leaders and economic experts endlessly promise recovery, sustainable growth, and financial stability, what they are meticulously building behind the scenes is a system where your financial freedom will be completely eliminated with no possibility of escape. The reassuring rhetoric and optimistic speeches hide a much more sinister reality that few have the courage to admit publicly or perhaps even acknowledge to themselves. Every major tyranny throughout human history has followed the same fundamental pattern we are witnessing today, first promising security and prosperity before implementing total control over the population. From ancient Rome to Germany in the 1930s, through countless authoritarian regimes, tyrants have always used artificially amplified economic crises to justify the centralization of power. What we are seeing today is not fundamentally different, just infinitely more sophisticated and implemented on a truly global scale unprecedented in human history. Scripture warns us with chilling precision in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, when they say, "There is peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them, like birth, pains upon a woman with child, and they will not escape." This verse describes exactly the current moment we live in, where empty promises of economic stability immediately precede the final collapse that will justify the implementation of the brand system. The language used by global leaders today is almost a direct quote from this biblical warning. Did you know that 93% of nations around the world have now formally joined some aspect of the new global financial system that is being quietly implemented? The control network is practically complete and operational. The technological, legal, and infrastructural foundations for the mark of the beast system, accurately described in Revelation, are being finalized as we speak. What is missing is only the final catalytic crisis that will justify its full implementation on a global scale. And this crisis is being carefully orchestrated right now. The rapidly approaching economic collapse is not an accident or an unpredictable consequence of current policies as they would have us believe. It is the perfect, carefully planned and orchestrated justification for implementing the mark of the beast system on a global scale without significant resistance. When you can no longer access your financial resources through traditional methods, when your physical money drastically loses value overnight, the new centralized digital solution will seem not only acceptable, but urgently necessary and even desirable. What is being persuasively sold as financial inclusion is actually a total system dependency trap. What is being promoted as enhanced security for your finances is in reality complete surveillance of every aspect of your economic life. What is being celebrated as convenience is the perfect mechanism for absolute behavioral control over every decision you make. Every aspect of the new global financial system is meticulously designed to eliminate your personal autonomy and subordinate your existence to centralized powers that are accountable to no one. Central banks around the world are dramatically accelerating the development of their digital currencies with an unprecedented sense of urgency. These are not simply digital equivalents of traditional money, as they would have you believe. These are sophisticated surveillance and social control tools that will allow governments to instantly monitor, approve, or deny every transaction you make, no matter how small. Imagine not being able to buy basic foods for your family because you expressed an incorrect opinion online or because you didn't get the latest mandatory vaccine. This is not a distant hypothetical scenario, but an imminent reality being constructed now. The continually promised economic stability comes with an exorbitant price that Scripture explicitly warns us not to pay. The mark of the beast, without which no one can buy or sell, according to Revelation 13:17. The system is being carefully constructed to make participation not just convenient, but absolutely necessary for basic survival in an increasingly digitized world. The choice many will soon face will not be between convenience and inconvenience, but between total conformity and literal starvation. Consider carefully how recent economic crises have been strategically used to normalize unprecedented levels of government intervention in free markets and citizens' personal finances. Each new emergency declared expands the powers of the state and significantly diminishes its individual freedoms. This constant pattern is not accidental or coincidental. It is the gradual, methodical, and deliberate implementation of the system of total control prophesied in detail in Revelation. The same economic experts who predicted absolutely none of the major financial crises of recent decades now assure us with unwavering certainty that their revolutionary solutions will bring lasting stability for all. Their blind trust in these empty assurances would be almost comical if the consequences were not so devastating for billions of people. They are selling perpetual servitude as economic salvation, and desperate multitudes are ready to accept this Faustian bargain without questioning its long-term implications. The ultimately evil true purpose of the incessant promises of economic stability is not to create genuine prosperity for all as claimed, but to gently lead humanity into an unprecedented system of totalitarian control that will be the exact materialization of the mark of the beast system described in the Holy Scriptures. The recent pandemic was just a dress rehearsal for the much more comprehensive control mechanisms that will be implemented globally when the current financial system collapses as planned. This crucial revelation is fundamental to your spiritual and material preparation in the turbulent days that inexorably come. Share the word alert in the comments if you are vigilant against these seductive false promises of economic security that cover up the prophesied trap. Leaked internal documents from major global media conglomerates reveal something deeply disturbing that confirms what many already suspected. There are direct, explicit, and unambiguous orders for major media outlets to avoid at all costs making any connection between current economic events and biblical prophecies related to the end times. This is not a haphazard editorial policy or a statistical coincidence. It is a strict, monitored guideline applied systemically across global mainstream media with severe consequences for anyone who dares to disobey. What I'm about to show and analyze for you has been repeatedly censored from every major platform and methodically erased from the internet whenever it surfaces. This information is so potentially destabilizing to the system that enormous financial and technological resources are continually being mobilized to suppress it at any cost. The powers that meticulously control the flow of information know, perfectly well that once ordinary people clearly see the prophetic connections behind current economic and geopolitical events, the entire plan is hopelessly compromised. Look closely at these carefully worded headlines about Trump's tariffs and global economic reset dominating the news. Notice how the language is strategically constructed to direct your attention exclusively to the immediate and superficial political and economic dimensions, deliberately concealing the much deeper and more significant spiritual and prophetic implications of these same events. It is no accident that certain perspectives are systematically excluded from public debate. Former high-ranking executives of major international media groups have confirmed, under strict condition of anonymity due to fears for their personal safety, the existence of a globally coordinated agenda to hide the true prophetic nature of the global reset. They describe in detail closed meetings where it is explicitly instructed that any journalist who attempts to explore the apocalyptic dimensions of current economic events must be immediately removed, professionally discredited, and, in some cases, actively defamed to destroy their credibility. This systematic and comprehensive censorship is neither coincidence nor paranoia. The scriptures warn us with crystal clarity that in the last days there would be a great, unprecedented operation of deception, so incredibly sophisticated that if it were possible, they would deceive even the elect, according to Matthew 24:24. The tight control of the narrative by the global media is a crucial and indispensable part of this prophesied operation of deception. They simply cannot allow the masses to perceive the prophetic fulfillment occurring in real time before their eyes. The algorithms of digital platforms and social networks are specifically programmed to identify and immediately suppress any content that connects current economic events with specific biblical prophecies. Videos are silently demonetized, accounts are suspended without adequate explanation, and content is mysteriously removed when these prophetic connections are made too explicitly or convincingly. This is not an unfounded conspiracy theory. It is a reality easily verifiable by anyone trying to share these uncomfortable truths on mainstream communication platforms. Fact-checking agencies, which publicly present themselves as impartial and objective guardians of the truth, are in reality sophisticated and effective tools of this information suppression system. They systematically label any prophetic analysis of economic events as dangerous disinformation or baseless conspiracy theory, not based on an honest and impartial assessment of the facts presented, but by strictly following pre-established guidelines specifically designed to maintain a veil over the apocalyptic truth unfolding before our eyes. What is most alarming and worrying is that this global censorship system is becoming increasingly sophisticated, pervasive, and impenetrable. New advanced artificial intelligence technologies are being implemented on a massive scale to instantly identify and suppress any content that draws connections between global tariffs, the global economic reset, and end times prophecies, often before such potentially revealing content even reaches a significant audience. Preventive control of information has reached unprecedented levels in human history. Why is there so much palpable fear and coordinated effort against this specific connection between economics and prophecy? The answer is simple and profound. Because once you clearly see the prophetic pattern behind current economic events, it becomes absolutely impossible to return to the limited, superficial, and materialistic understanding endlessly propagated by the mainstream media. Spiritual truth has the intrinsic power to completely liberate, and the architects of the beast system fear more than anything a globally awakened and spiritually discerning population that can no longer be manipulated. The scriptures clearly tell us that you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. This is precisely the fundamental reason why there is such a coordinated, persistent, and extraordinarily well-funded effort to prevent you from making the evident connections between current economic changes and the accurate fulfillment of biblical prophecies. A people fully cognizant of prophetic truth cannot be easily manipulated, controlled, or tricked into accepting the mark of the beast system when it is finally implemented globally. What I revealed today is just the tip of the iceberg. The connections between Trump's tariffs, the global reset, and the Antichrist system are deeper and more alarming than anyone could imagine. Very few people in the world have access to this level of information, and you are now part of this select group that sees beyond the smokescreens created by the media. Your awakening was not by chance. You were chosen to know this truth at this very moment. Every like you leave on this video and every subscription to the channel breaks the censorship algorithms and allows more people to access these critical revelations. Leave a like and subscribe now. The system fears people like you, individuals who do not passively accept the official narrative and seek the truth behind appearances. Your courage in facing these unsettling realities is what differentiates those who will be prepared from those who will be caught off guard by the impending events. Share in the comments which of the revelations most impacted your worldview, as your testimony will help others to awaken to this reality that few can see. An even more impactful and decisive revelation is waiting for you. Information that has been actively suppressed for decades shows the ultimate connection between everything we discuss today. There is a crucial element to this prophetic puzzle that will completely transform your understanding of current events. Click on the next video now to discover the final piece that completes this apocalyptic mosaic before this information is permanently removed.